Hi everybody, welcome to Sprague Woodturning. My name is Jim. So it's Easter, and I figured since it's Easter, we should do an Easter egg. I've never done an Easter egg, to be quite honest with you, or an egg, I should say. So a couple of weeks ago, I poured this green and pink resin. So we're gonna make an Easter egg out of this and make a wooden base for it to sit on, and hopefully turn it into a nightlight. That's what I want to do with this. So that's this week's video. If you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. And of course, anytime you give my videos a thumbs up, it certainly helps with the analytics. All right, so let's get to the lathe and get our egg turned, and then we'll work on the base. So my original plan with this was to actually turn an egg and then have it sitting in a base without any glue, not be glued in, so you could actually pick it up and look at it and then put it back in place, and then of course have the light shine up through the bottom of it, and there's your nightlight. But just like a lot of things, it's always subject to change when you step to the lathe, and certain things work and certain things don't. So this is why I kind of ended up with the form that I did. That's just a couple of pieces of rubber, just to prevent the live center from actually punching into the top of our egg form. Again, I use the Easy Woods finisher here and the 5/8 bowl gouge. They all seem to work well. The epoxy really seemed to cut well, especially with the finisher. Up on its edge a little bit. No, not grabby at all, and it actually worked really nicely. Will you look at those colors? That's awesome. Very, very neat. When that thing is polished, it's going to look amazing. Power sanding with the 3.5-inch nipple disc from sandpaper.ca. I've said it once, I've said it 100 times. If I can power sand, I'm going to power sand. It just gives a better finish. All right, so that was 80 to 800. Now I'm going to use 1,000 and 1,500, and then I'm going to buff. It's a good practice to change your water between grits. Here's our 1,500. Of course, these come from sandpaper.ca. So there is a link in the description for 10% off your next order. Use code INLAYJIM. That's sandpaper.ca. Really starting to see them patterns come out now. I do see some air pockets or air bubbles in here, and that's because this never went into the pressure pot, I'm assuming. I usually buff after 800, but since this was an all resin project, I decided to go to 1500 and then buff with the triple E and then with the white diamond. And it gives you a fantastic surface. Yeah, that triple E buffing compound and the white diamond buffing compound really set that off. There's no polish. Well, I guess it's technically a polish, but there's no plastic polish on there or anything like that. That's just from the triple E and the white diamond. Love the colors in this. All right, so we've got a bit of an issue. I've mixed these colors too strong. And this is a very powerful LED light. And as you can see, you can barely see anything. So what I'm going to try and do is actually core this out. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do that, but that's what I'm going to try to do. All right, so these are just seals that go on your vacuum chuck itself. So I'm just going to cut this up and try and fit it in the hole here and not have too many gaps, and then we'll get back to attempting to hollow this out. At this point, I'm kind of thinking, you know, maybe I should just make an egg cup and set it in an egg cup, but I don't know. There's not much challenge in that, is there? All right, so I've made this bigger. Let's see if this works any better. It's a lot more secure. I just don't know if it's secure enough. If I was just going to do the outside of this and turn it into an egg, I would have no problem using this method. Taking out the inside though, I don't know. I guess all we can do is try. So if you're wondering why I had electrical tape around the little wooden block that fit inside of the vacuum chuck, that's just to hold it in place so that I can take the vacuum off and then it's not going to fall out and kind of lose its position. Once it was set in there, I didn't want it to move because it would throw everything off. And again, you know, this is my first time ever hollowing resin, and I'll be honest with you, it went a lot easier than I thought it was going to. Using the 5/8 bowl gouge and then using the finisher that you see here worked really well. I mean, the key here is just taking light cuts. If you are too aggressive at this point, you will rip this out of that vacuum chuck and it'll go flying across the shop. All right, so here's where we're at. I've pretty much met my depth that I want to go. I don't want to go any more than this. You can see that it's starting to glow pretty decent on the top. Just a little bit further. The side walls, again, they're a lot thicker than up here at the end. The only issue I'm going to have is the LED lights that I have are really only bright on the very end of them. So they're not like a traditional light bulb that glows. So if I do manage to get this hollowed out without destroying it, I'll probably have to fill this with clear resin for it to work. But anyway, let's get back to getting this hollowed out, and hopefully we don't have any issues. So the big problem that I'm dealing with here is, in a sense, I'm working blind. I can get my calipers in and I can measure the wall thickness from the opening about halfway up of our upper egg, but above that you can't. You have to take the vacuum off and do a measurement and put it back in place and try and get things lined up. So it was a bit of a pain that way, and I'd be lying if I wasn't concerned about going through the very top of this this egg, because it would have well, we wouldn't have an Easter project. I don't think there would have been enough time to do another one. All right, so yesterday I successfully got this hollowed out, and then I actually filled it with clear resin. This is the Pro Series, and I kind of thought that I filmed this yesterday, but I guess I again forgot to turn the camera on. Anyway, I'm hoping to have a glow similar to this. Now this is a pretty strong LED light, so I'm going to have to put probably 3 of my LED lights together to even come close to this. But regardless, if you're wondering if you can hollow out epoxy, well, you certainly can. So I decided to go with a butternut base. I had some nice stuff that was dry, so I figured that's what I would use. And butternut is a really kind of rich looking wood when it's finished and sand it nicely. So that's one of the reasons why I went with butternut. Again, I wanted to use burl. Once our egg was no longer an egg, and I had to put kind of the bottom part of it into, look like a light bulb, then I wasn't able to really set it down inside of burl, and it just didn't look great. So that's why I went with a butternut base. Regardless, it's nice, and I know that a lot of you are probably going to say, well, it's pretty tall, and my wife actually thinks it is too tall. But I had to get 3 lights in there, and I had to make sure that they didn't break off. So that's one of the reasons why I went in this direction, and this is why it's so high. By the time you get the battery in there and all the electrical wires, there really isn't a whole lot of room left over. Maybe about 3/4 of an inch. All right, so before I leave here today, I'm just going to throw a coat of Mohawk salad bowl finish on this piece of butternut. I might just top coat it with a wax after this tomorrow. I am trying to seal up the end grain in this piece. That's the most important thing in preventing cracks. Again, this has been kiln dried, so there's no issues that way. And when I say preventing cracks, I mean future cracks. There we go. See you tomorrow. All right, so I've got my smooth spigot jaws on the outboard end of my lathe here. I'm just going to go on the inside of this. I'm not going to crank it down too hard because there is always the chance that you could break this apart. It's also important that it doesn't move. Anyway, I'll just take some light cuts with this, not going to be too aggressive, and I'm going to core this out where the battery is going to go. I should also mention that, of course, you could have left this inboard and then use the Jacob's chuck in your tailstock to clean this out. I don't have the right size Forstner bit that I want here, so that's why I'm going to do this by hand. Yeah, this switch requires a 9/16 drill bit. I don't know where my drill bit went for that, but anyway, I just used my Dremel and it worked fine. All right, so I put 3 LED lights together with some hot melt glue. I filled that cavity. These wires, or sorry, these LED lights tend to be pretty fragile along here. So I want to fill that cavity complete with the glue so that, you know, I can work on these wires and not worry about breaking them off at the LED light. Because that would suck after you've got this all together and find out one of these doesn't work. And yes, I tested them beforehand. All right, so everything's wired up. Battery just sits like that. Make a cover here yet. There, I'm just going to let that sit overnight. And then, as you can see, I pre-drilled and got our little screws for that. And what I'm going to do is actually glue the egg in place overnight, and then we'll put a coat of wax on this tomorrow, and it will be done. Okay, so I debated on mixing up some resin and using that. I don't have any clear medium, but I do have this, the brown from Starbond, and it really shouldn't matter. I'm just going to put it around the rim of this and then put the egg on, and then that's it. I'll put a wax on this tomorrow, and we'll be able to finish this up. There, once that sets, it shouldn't go anywhere. See you tomorrow. All right, let's check this out. These are pigments from Designer Epoxy. You can get pack 1 and pack 2. There are 26 colors in each pack. And this is awesome. Let's quickly have a look here. Each one of these packs is $29.99. I like the lilac purple. I haven't tried the glitter purple. Might have to try that one soon. Of course, sky blue, which I thought was Blue Laguna. Anyway, that's the first pack. Again, amazing range of colors. Here's our favorite, Blue Laguna. Enchanted green, that might be fun. Anyway, there's a ton of these. I also got this ghost green and ghost blue. I haven't totally figured out how to use these yet, but you can kind of tell there's like a metallic look to it. Anyway, we're going to show these in the channel here very shortly as well. Anyway, for 30 bucks Canadian, how could you go wrong? All right, so last thing we need to do here is put wax on this. This is a homemade wax of mine. It's mineral oil and beeswax. There you go. Let's actually take this into a dark room and see if it actually glows. Yeah, not bad. That's the top side. You can see it's a little thicker here. Those LED lights, though, they do shine straight up, so that might be another reason why this isn't... Regardless, it's pretty cool. Well, alright, that's it for the video. Bring in for a last little look here. Now this is deep cast from Designer Epoxy. And all those patterns you can see in there, like I haven't done any of this. I just dumped it into that solo cup, added some of the pink and the green, and this is what it created all on its own. Again, base, signed and dated. And so, a little disappointed in these LED bulbs. I mean, they're good. LED bulbs, of course, only give you light on the very end of it, and not like a traditional incandescent bulb. So, you know, as far as lighting this up is concerned with LED lights, I don't know. That's why I put the clear resin in this. If you're wondering why I put the clear resin in there, that way I was hoping that when the light was pushing through it, that it would actually make the whole thing glow. Now in the dark, it's actually pretty bright, but of course out here, you can't even see it when I turn it on. So, but anyway, in the dark, it's actually pretty nice. Again, this is not the intended base that I wanted. I wanted to set this on some burl, but I just couldn't get it to work for me. And then I switched to this. And this is butternut. It's actually a protected species here in Ontario. So, you know, it's pretty rare stuff to get up here. But anyway, let me know in the comments what you think. Happy Easter, everybody. Of course, don't forget about the links to Designer Epoxy, sandpaper.ca, and of course, Starbond Adhesives. Discount codes are in the description down below. Next week, I want to do maybe an inlay with some stabilized branches. I might even release that through the week. So anyway, that's why it's important to have that bell notification up and running. Anyway, anytime you give my videos a thumbs up, it certainly helps with the analytics. And of course, anytime you can share my videos on your social media platforms, that certainly is a bonus as well. Anyway, till the next video, take care, stay safe, we'll see you then.